else to do.
Just don't think about it.
Just sweating profusely. Hey.
Just don't think about it. You're sweating profusely?
Well, because I, by chance, listened to like a clip of mine earlier that you'd posted somewhere or tagged me in, and I was just like,
oh, I don't know the clip. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn. A Furiously Curious, I Can't Talk. A series of the Furiously Curious show.
Learned you how to spoke. None, buddy.
Where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. This is, I don't know what episode this is, because this is one for the kitty. Because this Thursday, I will be recording with Dr. Edward Less, pediatrician, emergency pediatrician. He was on the show before. And I asked him if he wanted to come on for a Briefcase in the Barn episode, because he came out with a book recently, Cloudy with the Risk of Children.
Cloudy with a Chance of Children.
With a risk, yeah, chance to. I can't remember the exact words, but great book. And so I thought, hey, come back on. I told him I would have him back on when he came out with that book, and it's still need to read a bunch of it so I can ask him some good questions. But so I'm not sure when this is coming out exactly.
Do we still have another one in the kitty too?
No,
for sure not.
Well, we have one that I haven't watched back yet. That I actually only sent to 2 Patreon subscribers. That is apparently just a disaster. It was a Friday morning we recorded. We called Matt Keane. It was just...
Oh, yeah, that was really bad. But you can post that too. Nobody cares. Of all the feedback I get, which is quite a bit actually, every week I get feedback, especially this last week.
Okay, what about this last week? Did you get more feedback?
Well, because we had an event at your house.
Yeah, that was fun.
With the guy who's works with Desiring God organization, and lots of your friends were there. A certain segment of friends anyways. Eclectic group of friends, I would say.
Maybe a certain segment. It was pretty across the board.
It was top-notch people. I said to Marie when we left, I'm like, man, that is a great group of people. It's surprising that you were the common denominator, if I had to be really honest.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It was really cool. And then there was like me and Matt Keane. It's like, oh man, how do we fit in here? Feel pretty far removed from, anyways, the group. But yeah, great people. And it was interesting because you get the feedback of kind of like,
you got feedback on Saturday?
Well,
when you were
not
here.
a lot, really. Other than, hey, is it weird that, I've heard a lot of what you said and you don't know who my name is? Kind of, that's the general gist, right?
Oh, okay.
Which I get that a lot. Like, I'll just randomly walk in a Dairy Queen and some person will be like, or some other place, and somebody will grab me and say, hey, whatever. And usually pretty positive. And I know there's people that don't probably appreciate it or have listened and thought, hey, that's BS, but
what was the clip that you
down.
seen today of yourself that made you cringe?
I didn't even listen to more than 2 seconds of it, but it was just, my voice was so nauseating. I'm just like, oh. And I don't always feel that way when I hear it, because I like when we watch the, maybe it's because I'm not talking low enough, like Matt Keane says I talk really low with my radio voice. But it was just when we did the compilation or whatever of the year in review, that was semi-funny.
Oh, where is that? I was supposed to upload that to social media.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Anyways, that wasn't so bad. But this clip from the other day was just me pontificating about something. I probably had no idea what I was talking about. It's just painful to listen to. You're pulling a Gary Baars here. You're distracted. Anyways, it was a great night at your house, and it was quite a character, and we had a lot of laughs.
Yeah, it was fun.
I can't say the name, but there was somebody shared a story about how they had been in a spin class, an exercise class, and for those that don't know, and spin class is where there's like especially the spin classes here anyways that we're talking about, I think it's probably more of a
is that like that Mamba cycle thing?
Yeah, but it's more of a religious experience, I think, than actual biking.
Right? Okay, because it's like dark.
It's not about exercise. Music
blasting.
Just pounding and incense burning and whatever, all kinds of weird stuff going on, right? But there was a guy that had went there with his significant other, and he had booked him right in the front row, and the strobe lights.
He had booked him in the front row?
Yeah, he had booked him in the well, that's just, we probably didn't think about it, whatever.
Right, yeah.
That's the only spot where there is any light. Like if you're at the back, you can't even see your hands, I think, pretty much is what I've heard. I haven't been yet.
Okay.
Gonna check it out at some point. But anyways, he was just sweating like a dog. So he took his shirt off, right? Well, and the pushback was just like,
and that's full of women.
The big debate. Yeah, it's full of women, right? And yeah.
So he wanted attention?
No, I don't think so. I was just he really did not like wearing a shirt when he was sweating, right? But it was just funny because his pushback was, and it was probably a valid comment. He's like, hey, the women are barely dressed here. How come I'm not allowed? I still got more clothes on them with just my shorts on than they do when they're fully clothed. Anyways, it was just, we got into heated debate with your buddy there, and it was Peter, right? Peter Hedstrom. Yeah. He's got a great sense of humor.
He is so much fun.
Yeah, he's a fun guy, very caring. Played a lot with the kids, which was nice for Marie and I, because we felt like we had a more relaxing time.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, he's always been so good with the kids. It was interesting when I started hanging out with him 5 years ago or whatever, because we got to know him. We went to a Desire in God donors retreat.
Yeah.
And in Phoenix, we got invited to go out there, which was weird because I'd given like $1,000 to them. And they still invited me out to this donors retreat where you got to meet John Piper and hear him speak in a smaller group setting and stuff. And but it was John Piper actually has I guess he asked his organization to say, hey, to these events, I don't want just the big money guys. I want the full spectrum of donors to come and to get invited.
Okay.
And so probably cost me just as much money going here.
More, but it's irrelevant maybe.
Yeah.
It was interesting. He shared the other night that he opens up the donations from people.
Yes.
It's his job. And he was saying how there are people that give like 3 cents a month.
Yes. Like prisoners send in like $10 a month. Like,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
All kinds
pretty
of stuff.
humbling.
But anyway, so we got to know him and his wife there. Nicole got saved through like his wife's intervention, whatever. God used his wife. And so we got to know him quite closely. But a month later, Grace died. And then they came out for that. And they were just a huge, huge blessing to us. But from day one, when they came to our house, they paid attention to our kids just as much as they paid attention to us, which for me was kind of a shock because I'm always used to like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's just like a subculture thing like Dutch culture or maybe just the culture as a whole, but where kids are kind of put to the side and it's like adults talking, go play, leave me alone and stuff like that. He did the opposite of that. Like
we're for sure like that, if I had to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he just just as much attention and like knows them and like they engages with them. And it made me think of Jesus and his disciples. And the disciples are like,
we're trying to brush them off.
Get these kids out of here. We only big people. And Jesus is like, no, come here. I'm going to bless them and spend time with them and being Christ-like. And so he's been such a huge example to us. But he also went through the ringer halfway through his marriage. It wasn't a marriage issue. It was, I'm not sure if I can share it. He might come on the podcast one day.
Yeah, do that.
He adopted a bunch of kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that he adopted kids. Maybe
Yeah.
he told my wife that. But I hardly talked to him. Marie had a long chat with him, but I...
Okay, yeah. Okay, anyways, something cool I've been doing the last week. Matt actually challenged me in my Bible reading to read through the whole book of John, but read one chapter a day, the Apostle John, and not skip ahead. Just read one chapter a day, but then read it like 4 or 5 times a day. And then when you're reading it, pray that God will open your eyes to things and see where you fit in. So I did the whole thing once and I was like, it was all right. And he's like, do it again. So I did the whole thing again. And so I'm almost done doing it a second time, but it is being super beneficial for me.
Okay.
Like I'm noticing so much more things. I guess the biggest thing I'm noticing is that Jesus in the in the Gospel of John is constantly trying to give proof that he is actually God. Like he's trying to like give evidence for it. And
well, because they were really wondering.
Yeah.
Just like people wonder today, which is interesting because I think we as Christians we don't look at it that way, even though we don't see our unbelief as the unbelief that they had, but it's the same unbelief.
Yeah. And so last year I remember watching a podcast from Logan Paul, ironically, and he had some apologists on, and the apologists were saying that Jesus was a real man. There was real historical evidence for him, like there is for Augustine and all these other historical figures, and that he's the only man that claimed to be God, which a lot of people did, claim to be God.
Lots, yeah.
That rose from the dead. No one else rose from the dead.
And there's proof of it.
And there's proof of it. Like a lot of proof of it.
Yeah.
500 eyewitnesses and he actually wrote the book. And so like it's real. Like he is actually God. And the Apostle John Jesus is in the narrative constantly trying to prove that he is actually God, even to the point of like with Lazarus. So Lazarus dies, right? And the disciples tell him like, hey, we need to go see Lazarus. And he's like, he's something about him sleeping. No, Jesus is like, he's actually dead. And he says, but I'm going to use this to show my glory, basically to show that he's actually God, and let it wait a couple of days. And that really hit a nerve with me because what all my marriage crap has done for me and all the grinding of the last 4 years and dealing with my childhood and Grace dying and everything else like that is that it's made God so much more real. Like I actually believe him. Like I actually think he's really God. I actually believe that when he says, come to me, like that he means it, not because I feel it, but because I know the Bible is true. Like I know there's proof that he was real. Like so everything's solidifying way more. And so then your doubt goes way down and it's been awesome. So anybody that's listening, I would encourage you to do that. Just to read one chapter a day, read it 4 or 5 times, go to the next chapter, pray as you're praying over, reading it, praying over it, and saying, "Hey, God, speak to me, open my eyes to what I need to see," and do it a few more times. I'm going to do it again after this 3rd time. So anyway, I thought I would share that.
Okay. Interesting.
How's your Bible reading?
Good. Yeah. Best it's ever been. Just surprising. Just got into a really good habit all of a sudden.
Evenings, right?
Evenings.
You said you switched to evenings and it helped?
Yeah, because I'm an evening person. And I think, I don't know, you always hear people that have this like faithful, like get up early and that probably is really good. It's probably better. But for me, I don't know, I'm just a night owl. It's just easier for me to read at night and pay attention at night.
I mean, it's not a thing you have to do, right? Remember John Piper saying people accused him of being a legalist because he said you should read that Bible half hour every day. He's like, why is that legalism?
Why wouldn't you want to?
Why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a real question where even like that's something that I was convicted through Freedom Sessions. When you come up your authentic life plan and you're kind of like coming up with all the practical things of how your life should look different as you've kind of worked on your crap and realized the stuff you got to deal with. And it's like, oh, yeah, why do I not, you know, especially like in my life, it's pretty dysfunctional and there's a lot of issues. It's like, man, I need all the help I can get. Yeah. And it's fascinating how you'll run to this counselor, you'll run to this wise person. It's like, well, you got the manual there, right? And there again, I've been brought up, I was always kind of like, it was so pragmatic, but yet not that practical, where it was like.
Yeah, that's what it did. It was kind of like spirituality was kind of like a foggy thing up there, but you couldn't like practice. Well,
because very few people, like even those that I think that had probably amazing spiritual experiences are definitely where, you know, solid Christians, maybe just because of the judgment that comes by saying anything to do with feeling or authenticity, where you could be kind of nitpick. Like we do live in a pretty critical culture. I mean, everybody's critical. It's not
2 elders are going to come visit you and saying, "Hey, is your story good enough?"
Well, and I've heard of those lately, which is bizarre to me because it's there again. A lot of times it's not that. And there's just a lot of thankfulness for people's, coming to know the Lord, but I've definitely heard lately bizarre stories where I'm just like, wow, where people have really questioned somebody, or I'm like, man, the amount of, you know, courage it would take for a young person, especially in that culture where I come from, to be like, to share, hey, this is the experience I've had with the Lord and I've come to know the Lord. Like to share that would take a lot of guts, and then to get shot down by somebody who's, you know, just being judgmental or, you know, and I think even in my own life, I had it recently where somebody had asked, you know, somebody's planning on getting baptized, and I catch myself being critical too. And I think, man, like, whoa, if I look back at the trajectory of my life and you look at the early 20s, especially, but even recently, but especially like the early 20s and the things I was doing and how I joked with somebody the other night, you know, it's not really, you know, it's just kind of like, they had talked about when I became a Christian, it was actually at your party. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe I was a Christian. Then I think I was, but like, boy, the journey to sanctification has been slow, like really slow and really, really sad, really, for how well I knew, but just always hanging on to old things and just not really willing.
I think it's really surrendering our life. Like I'm realizing in John 5, I was reading, it says, "You seek the scriptures to find eternal life, but you miss the point. The scriptures point to me." And like I've been recently just asking God for like help on like financial stuff and my back problems, and there's a few other things, and I'm like, I need these things fixed, and God's like saying to me, no, like I'm enough, like I'm what you need. And like same with the woman at the well, like he says, you'll be satisfied, you won't be thirsty anymore. In a lot of ways we find ourselves like thirsty. We're just like, to be happy, I need this relationship fixed. Or to be happy, no, like Jesus is enough. And he asks you to be faithful and lay down your life, which might mean you have to do something really uncomfortable, which might mean you have to, you know, stand up to your family about your faith and say, hey, no, I'm doing something else. And that might cause friction or whatever else like that. But that's what Jesus calls us to do. He calls us to lay down our life. And that's often super uncomfortable and hard, but is our faith in him going to be more than our faith in whatever else it is? I mean, that's why, like, for example, the apostles, after Jesus died and left, the part of the proof that Jesus was real is who goes and does that kind of stuff and is put under that much pressure for something that's not true. Like, they seen God, so they couldn't help themselves but preach about Jesus. Like, they had to. And so the more I think you know God, you just can't help yourself. Like, it's just going to come out. Like, and yeah.
I had something else I was going to run by you. I've been reading, just part of my reading plan has been taking me through Romans,
Yeah.
which there's a lot in, like, it's pretty
That's
deep.
a big chapter.
It's
Yeah.
pretty deep, and I'm not that bright, but,
You find it?
well, yeah, I kind of have it here.
What is it?
Romans 9, verse 6. I'll just read it. See what you think of it. I do not mean that this is from the, oh man, now I'm in a totally different version again. Let me just I'll just read it from the version that I'm reading from. This is from the NIV. It is not as though God's word had failed, for not all who are descended from Israel are Israel's, nor because they are his descendants are they all Abraham's children. On the contrary, it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. In other words, it is not the children by physical descent who are God's children. But it is the children of the promise who are regarded as Abraham's offspring. For this was how the promise was stated. At the appointed time I will return, and Sarah will have a son. Not only that, but Rebekah's children were conceived at the same time by our father Isaac. Yet before the twins were born or had done anything good or bad, in order that God's purpose and election might stand, not by works, but by him who calls, she was told, the older will serve the younger. Just as it is written, Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. What then shall we say? Is God unjust? Not at all. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. It does not, therefore, depend on human desire or effort, but on God's mercy. For Scripture says to Pharaoh, I raised you up for this very purpose, that I might display my power in you, and that my name might be proclaimed in all earth. Therefore God has mercy on whom he wants to have mercy, and he hardens whom he wants to harden. One of you will say to me, then why does God still blame us? For who is able to resist his will? But who are you, a human being, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to the one who formed it, why did you make me like this? Does not the potter have the right to make out of some lump of clay the pottery for special purposes of some common use? What if God, although choosing to show his wrath and make his power known, bore with great patience the objects of his wrath prepared for destruction? What if he did this to make the riches of his glory known to the objects of his mercy, whom he prepared in advance for glory, even us, whom he also called, not only from the Jews, but also from the Gentiles? As it says in Hosea, I will call them my people who are not my people, and I will call her my loved one who is not my loved one. And in the very place where it was said to them, you are not my people, there they will be called the children of the living God. Isaiah cries out concerning Israel, though the number of Israelites will be like the sand of the sea, only the remnant will be saved, for the Lord will carry out his sentence on earth with speed and finality. And I could go on and on and on. Anyways, this is pretty interesting. It's pretty heavy. And it definitely, yeah, I'd be interested to know what you hear when you hear that being read. I mean, I'm reading it pretty fast, but
yeah, I think the biggest thing I hear there is, I mean, this chapter was talked a lot about growing up, because it's basically a big chapter on election.
Yes.
Saying that, hey, I can't do anything myself anyway, so I'm just gonna like sit on my bench and wait for God to zap me, and maybe I'll go to hell, maybe I'll go to heaven. And I think that's not the point at all. Because who are we to say that back to God? The scriptures clearly tell us, come to me, all you are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Like the scriptures clearly tell us that if we repent and believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, we will be saved. Like you can't take this out of context, out of the rest of the scriptures. And then I think the second piece is that, if you think of a potter who has like a big pot on his like spinning wheel, and there's a little clump of clay on the side that says like, hey, I don't like the size of pot you're turning me into.
Yeah, I'm going to read you the next into chapter 10. Okay. Going to carry on. Sorry.
Okay. Like,
finish your thought.
Okay.
Yeah, finish your thought.
So I think that's the second piece, is that like, hey, we are really dumb compared to God. Like there's no, actually, I don't think you can really describe it. Like go look at a mountain, like I think this once in a while when I see a bird, like where are birds plugged in? They're not like drones that you got to charge every time, stuff like that. Like this whole narrative, the whole story, the whole like how the Old Testament proves the New Testament, when you actually start understanding it, like it's this master plan of like incredible, I don't even know how to describe it. It blows me away. And so I think sometimes we read a chapter like that and we, pigeonhole ourselves into a certain thing, which is not the point. I think it just,
Yeah, it was interesting to me just because, I mean, there again, I think I've said it before, you want to be really careful reading something in a bit of a bubble, right? And then the next chapter,
starting at what verse?
Chapter 10, starting in verse 8. But what does it say? The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. That is the message concerning faith that we proclaim. if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. And as the scriptures say, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. For there's no difference, and these I could go on, like even to do with baptism and the covenant. Like, this is just interesting to me. I'd be interested to know how somebody that really understands the covenant theology would explain this, because this makes me just kind of more solidified in kind of how I feel about these things. But there's no difference between Jew and Gentile. The same Lord is Lord of all and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved.
Yeah, I mean, the piece that sticks.
And then it goes on to say why we should be, sharing the gospel with people, because they need to hear the gospel.
But I think the definition of believing in something is really key. Like believing with your heart. Like I, believe in my heart. I can say to like, I have this with one of the coaching exercises I do. I have like a big thing of like what you believe about things. And I think I've said it before that if I coach more Dutch Reform guys, it's like, what do you believe your purpose is? And they say, my purpose is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. And often that's just not the case. That's just the right answer. And I think a lot of times we don't understand what believing is. Like when you believe something, you will see the results of it, right? Like I can tell that you believe in business. Why? Because I see lots of evidence for it. That's like something you love doing and are like engaged with, right? I can see that you care about people because I believe you can, because I've seen you caring about people. I've experienced it. And so if you really believe in Jesus, it's not just like this intellectual thing. Like if it's belief of the heart, it will have results. Like you will find yourself going to people and saying, hey, like this is better than everything in the world.
I do feel like in kind of like even keeping in mind Romans 9, I think that because of the way we have been taught, I do believe, and I shared this, Matt and I were talking about this the other day, I do feel like there's this sense of, and there again, I mean, ultimately we're responsible to the Lord, not to other people. But like, I do think people have such a fear of the idea of how man views them or what people will say, or just being deceiving themselves. Like we that was taught pretty deep, like, and the heart, there's verses, right? The heart is deceitful among all things, and just this idea, right? And so I feel like we grew up in this culture where people are just really fearful of professing, and it's a real hindrance. And I think that God probably calls me to be a lot more bold than I am, and it's convicting, right?
I mean, I would encourage people to really like read the Bible. Like a lot of people read commentaries and devotionals and this and that and stuff like that. Like read the Bible. That's that's God himself.
God will speak to you there.
Yeah, and make things clear.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also I'm reading in John, and there were some Pharisees that believed, but it says that they didn't talk about it publicly because they didn't want to get kicked out of the synagogue. Like we see that, right? People that believe, and they're like, they don't want to talk about it too loudly because they don't want to like cause a stir and stuff like that. But then you also won't walk in freedom. You also will like be constantly doubting and stuff like that because your actions aren't aligned with your values. You're not living what you actually believe, and you're always going to be like, yeah, well, you're denying God. You're being a little bit of a Peter. So, anyways, good chat on that.
That was a lot of ranting. There's a lot of good notes in the show notes.
Yes, here. I will switch actually here to what do we got? I got a question about Quota.
Yeah.
You ready?
Dairy question.
If you need a question for the Briefcase on the Bar, not sure if you even want it, for Gary mainly, why does Quota make a monetary value?
Have monetary value.
Oh, yeah, why does Quota have monetary value? If it needs a monetary value, why does it have to be so high? Why are you not allowed to borrow against it? I'm all for protecting the food supply, even though it's
closet communism.
Yes.
I've read this 5 times, this question.
But the dairy and poultry system is a racket. Some vegetables like peppers have a supply management system, but commercial operations would have costed tens of thousands of dollars and not millions if you can't borrow against it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So we had Peter and Sharon here over the weekend, and I make great Dutch pancakes. And then I like to get the good syrup, like real syrup.
Maple syrup. You can't afford to, though.
No, exactly. Yeah. And Peter and Sharon are like, what? You're in Canada. What? Shouldn't this be like the cheapest thing?
No, it's the cartel.
Exactly. And I'm like, it's
just
total,
like the milk.
Oh, it's awful. It makes me quite upset. Like we should have the cheapest syrup. It's like going to Cambodia and like getting coffee for like $50 when like there's fields everywhere of coffee.
I mean, first of all, to compare Canadian maple syrup to any other sugary,
Telephone
liquid crap that's
pole
being,
maple syrup.
well, yeah, just stuff. I mean, it's a far stretch. I mean, that stuff's made with love by Quebecers, right? Or as much love as Quebecers have in them. I don't know.
You just admitted
Not
it's
much.
the cartel. Okay, so it's
Okay.
way too much money. But explain this quota
The dairy
system
thing?
to me. Why does quota have monetary value?
Well, initially it wouldn't have, or didn't. I shouldn't say wouldn't have. It didn't. Initially, it was simply the idea that, hey, you had to have a license to produce a certain amount of milk. For years and years, and there'd be people that...
And the license would say you're allowed to have
X amount of liters, or in our case now, it's in kilograms of butter fat, which is how we ship milk.
Okay.
Which is a whole formula.
Yeah.
But initially, it would have had no value. And it would have just been this idea of what would have happened it was probably in the 60s, maybe early 70s, whenever it came in. There would have just been periods where, everybody was producing milk because they were getting paid well for it. And then all of a sudden there was no demand for the milk. And then boom, people would get rid of animals. And of course, like the life cycle of a cow and breeding cows back, similar to what we're dealing with beef right now. Like there's obviously a shortage of beef. Beef's getting extremely expensive. Like, I don't know if we've talked about it on here, but like a baby calf, like a brand new baby calf, if it's beef calf, is worth like $1,500, $1,600.
Whoa.
Yeah, like brand new. Like
I remember
wet,
shooting those
wet.
things.
Yes, yeah, because you're a savage. But no,
because the farmer told me
because they were not worth anything.
Yeah.
No, so that's the world we live in. But anyways, so that will sort itself out. And I've said before, the solution to high commodity prices. So, but it takes time. And so with milk, it was an issue where like all of a sudden the market's being shorted. People didn't have milk for their cereal. And then, months later, there's milk being dumped like crazy. Now, if you go on Michael Campbell's Facebook page, he'll say, oh, milk's being dumped. And there has been milk being dumped, and there is skimming that sometimes happens. It's not like it never happens. But, in answer to the question, quota has monetary value because anything that any business license, like a taxi cab license in New York City, they used to be worth $1 million a piece or whatever. A fishing license on the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean would be worth money. Like dairy farmers get picked on in an unfair way. Like, I'm not saying there's not flaws with it. I'm not saying that quota should be worth $40,000 a cow or $20,000 a cow or whatever the value is. The argument that it would add some cost to the milk is probably...
Why does it keep going up? Just because
it doesn't keep going up.
Oh,
it's dropping in BC right now.
But it has gone up, of course, over the years.
It has, but it does fluctuate up and down.
Like should when it have come out, should the government have said,
why should a house be worth 10 times more than it was in 2002? It's just the devaluation of the dollar.
But a fishing license isn't going up and down in value, is it?
They would probably just be going up, would be my guess. I haven't done the homework, but I will now that we're talking about it.
Okay, because the government could say, hey, we're handing it out. This is the price.
No, because the minute someone has it, obviously it has value.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in other parts of the country, like back east, what they've done is they put a cap on the price of quota. And they've done that because for exactly this reason.
That's what I'm wondering.
In the public sphere, it looks really bad. So it's still high, but it's capped. And it's capped artificially low, like very low. So what do you think happens when they sell a farm and it sells with quota in Ontario?
The farm's just worth a ton of money.
The farm's just worth a ton of money. So
it just comes out a different way.
It just comes out a different way. So basically...
And so this is not a problem in the U.S.?
It's very fascinating. This is just my experience. And there again, most people who are listening to this have never known this. But in Washington State and Oregon, there's a co-op called Dairy Gold. And they produce the bulk of the milk in those states. And I won't want to... There again, I'm going to just speak off without knowing. But it was probably, let's say, 6-7 years ago. That's what I do all the time anyways. But 6 or 7 years ago, that there was quota. It was called base. Yeah. And it was the amount that they were allowed to produce on their farm. And it's essentially quota.
Yeah.
And there again, did it have value when they implemented it? Of course not. But did it pretty quick when people realized that, hey, they just weren't allowed to ship more milk and they wanted to grow? Yes, it did. So I remember, and I have a video of it selling on my phone because I went down to an auction where the quota sold for way more than the value of the cows, or the base sold for way more than the value of the cows at a farm dispersal in the States, right? And so right now, they need the milk in Washington State. There's farmers quitting. So that base has no value. But they just arbitrarily created it. By us, it's government regulated, so people have a desire to despise it more. And it is very tightly regulated in BC and Alberta, to be fair. Like there's nobody starting up a random farm, selling milk. And it's actually another, there again, I don't know why it's so controversial, but even raw milk, like people want to buy raw milk. The market wants raw milk. And for some reason, our government says, hey, you cannot ship raw milk. You can't have raw milk.
No, our government is broken in so many different ways.
Yeah. Anyways, you could buy all kinds of drugs. You can basically do anything to your body you want, but you can't drink raw milk. It's weird. So, I mean, even the idea of borrowing against it, like who decides that you get to borrow against it? It's a bank. The milk board, it's interesting. So like in our government, like in our provincial regulated document that describes quota, it says right in there that the quota has no value, which is why like right now it's dropping $1,000 every single month, and nobody knows how low it's going to go because it's obviously it has.
And why can't you borrow against it?
Well, you can borrow against it, but it's the bank that would let you borrow against it.
Oh.
Like it's not as if like somebody decides that, this stuff has like it's an arbitrary number. And it's obvious because if you think about it, even in the environment we're in where there's, Trump and other people pushing to maybe gain access to the Canadian market, at any point it could be quote unquote worthless if all of a sudden they take.
And what
the
about
system
like
away.
some people can sign up for getting on some list and they get given quota?
Yes.
Then you just get given $1 million basically?
Yeah, but you have to milk cows. So first of all, you can't sell it like a year in. You have to milk the stuff for 10 years. I mean, most of us would joke that it's a license to poverty because you would be going backwards. And I know people that are doing it. You're essentially going backwards every month. You have to really love farming and want to farm. And the other thing that kind of bothers me about questions like this, vegetables is a pretty good example. But you try grow potatoes in BC and become a potato farmer. You're not allowed to. Like it's not even about owning the quota. Like you just literally can't do it. You tell me how you can start potato. Like there's,
What do you mean you can't? Like if
there's laws. Like you just, it's really regulated, and it's not like even layer quota, for example, chickens. Like to be a chicken farmer, like at least in dairy, if you want to start dairy farming now, you can start. You need a lot of money and you have to borrow a lot of money, but you can start. There's other industries where like they don't get the crap
quota.
on that.
We get quota from somebody.
You can't buy layer quota. Like you can't find it
because no one is selling.
Yeah, no, never. Like it's such an inside. Like, anyways. I always find it humorous because dairy just really gets picked on the most.
Why do you think dairy gets picked on so much? What is it about the dairy that makes it easy to get picked on? Is it the fact that the U.S. is always talking about it?
I think so. I think it's Wisconsin dairy farmers. I think it's the idea of in the U.S. there still are a lot of dairy farms, like family farms. A chicken, I would assume in the U.S. is probably so consolidated that their factory farms are huge. Like there's probably 50 chicken farms. I have no clue, but there's probably some companies own such a large swath of the chicken production in the US that people here would instantly be against that.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I would say, I guess this is talking on the other side of my mouth a little bit. There's this idea of like, hey, we're the, US milk is bad or it's horrible. Like, no, like most US dairy farmers do a great job. They have proper protocols.
Right.
The only difference is we are much more regulated by government and they are regulated by their co-op or whoever they ship their milk to, right?
Yeah. I'd rather have a co-op than a government, but
you would?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah.
Moving on.
Well, I feel like I'm not done defending my system.
Okay, I'm bored.
Okay, you can't stand talk about quota. You should try own a bunch of it and then think that it might get taken away. It'd keep you a lot more engaged.
Yeah. Just like those farmers that's what I always pick on, right? Because Maxime Bernier said he was going to do that. And all of a sudden, all these farmers that are Christians that, care about their values.
For the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take the
you never hear about anything else. You never hear about abortion or anything else, but you touch their money and it's just like, goodness gracious. Yeah. Anyways, it's like they're humans. They need Jesus. It's like me.
Yeah.
Switching the subject. Should churches be nice buildings? Question. Well, let's define what a church is. A church
building
is not the building.
Okay. Well, should a church building be nice?
Should a church building be nice? I don't think it matters.
No?
I think we are called to steward our money well.
Okay.
And so if the church has a whole bunch of people, has 2,000 people, you need to put 2,000 people in a room. I like what some of the Reformed churches do, where they get the 700 members and they split and they say, "Hey, let's have smaller churches and better communities that way." I think that's okay. There's wisdom to that. But if you need to,
how about the particular church building? Do you think that they should be nice buildings and like fancy buildings?
No,
or big buildings.
No, just like simple. Just get what you need to do.
Sit empty 6 days of the week and the rest of the.
See if you can use them for other things.
Okay.
I think that's like steward it well. Know that this is God's money, not your money. Just like all our money is.
Yeah.
And, the Spirit will lead on what you should do. And but these big fancy buildings, stuff like that. No, that's what the Reformation was against. The guys in the Reformation, they went into these Catholic churches and they stripped them down to nothing. So they were simple and said, hey, the focus of this stuff that we're doing here is the preaching. That's the most important thing. And so in a lot of ways, we've gone backwards again and gone like, okay, we don't
have for another Reformation.
Yeah, not the symbolism may be that like all these weird things the Roman Catholics do. Sorry if you're Roman Catholic, but I think it's a little bit odd when you're waving things around and smoke flying around. But
I think that's probably whatever.
But like if you're all about the fanciness, well, the Reformation was against that. No, they were like simplicity. Anyways, I got a really good quote to read, and I'm curious what you think about. But before that, I also got a really good testimonial here from Mitchell Buscom, owner of Framcon Construction in Alberta. He's been running this construction company for like 20 years. Super smart guy. Loved working with him. And they work all over Western Canada, lots of flat work, foundations, concrete pumping. And so he did that 10-week coaching program with me. And so this is what he said. Kyle's coaching gave me clarity, confidence, and the tools to face both business and personal challenges. The coaching was a combination of journaling and thought-provoking questions that helped me understand myself and my motivations. This really helped me understand what I believe. I really appreciate the feedback on the journals. I'm now better equipped to face the challenges in business and personal life. So you don't pay me $15,000 US and give a kind of testimonial that if it wasn't really worth it. So anyway, so I just wanted to share that. So if you're on the fence of working with me, there's some more proof that it's at least worth having a chat, and it'll be massively beneficial to you and your company. Very likely make you more profitable if that's what motivates you, but also in your relationships, faith, whatever other challenges you're going through. So just text "I'm interested" to my number. I'll put it on the screen there, 604-703-9045, and we'll book a 30-minute alignment call. No, it's not going to be a sales pitch, just clarity. We'll look at what's out of sync, what it's costing you, whatever I can help with. And here's the thing. I've only worked with men, though, who are ready to do the real work and not just talk about it. So if you're ready for actually doing real work and making your life better, text "I'm interested" to 604-703-9045. Okay. Quote. Love this quote. Came across it this week. Shared it on my story. Do you look at the quotes I share on my stories?
No, I unfollowed your podcast, your Instagram page, so I don't have to see myself talking. Anyways,
they're on my personal one too.
Okay.
Men go to far greater lengths to avoid what they fear than to obtain what they desire.
Ain't that the truth?
Say it again. This is Dan Brown's quote.
Real slow.
Men go to far greater lengths to avoid, not do, what they are scared of, what they fear, than to obtain what they desire.
Men and women.
Yes.
For the record.
So for example, getting real, like being authentic, that's scary. But the benefit is, hey, having a better relationship. So they'd rather just not get real because that's too scary than having the better relationship. Or like having a hard conversation versus having clarity and peace. Mm-hmm. Dealing with your church issues that might cause family problems versus actually leading your family well spiritually and according to what you believe is true. And so I don't know, I came across it this week, and it was definitely my own experiences as well, but I thought it was good. Do you see it in your own life? I think you do. You share this with me. You avoid conflict sometimes too.
Conflict. Avoid conflict.
When you did freedom sessions, what was the root of that? Did you figure that out? Like why you were avoiding the conflict? Was it just wanting acceptance, or was it?
Yeah, just don't want to be okay, right? Just don't want the uncomfortableness of. But yeah, it's fascinating, and that's why one of my favorite quotes from all the freedom session is, "Conflict is the pathway to intimacy." And even in my own life now with marriage, it's just sometimes so much easier to not have an uncomfortable conversation. But like, then you just don't have great marriage. Like you have way more real marriage when you just have it's okay to have if you have it in the right way. Right. But it's like there again, we're also taught that, like fighting with your spouse is bad. No, like there's just a proper way that you're going to have disagreements and conflict in your marriage. Right. And like, I suck at it. Like Marie is definitely way better at it than me. I right away just, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Move on.
Yeah. Define fine.
Define fine.
Define fine. Yeah. We're fine. All right. Anyways. So no, it's, love the idea of just like, and I've had it a lot lately where I have had more conflict and just uncomfortable conversations. And it often, if it's done well and you finish the conversation, it leads to beautiful things. But you have to have relatively healthy people. If you have one very unhealthy person, they'll get extremely upset and respond really. And that, I think that's where a lot of our fear comes from, right? But we also may just be surprised that people won't respond if we go very gently in the right time. Like there's just that's why freedom session's beautiful. It literally teaches you how to do conflict, how to say it, when to say it, right? There's
how to
a lot of practical
slow down
stuff.
The whole thing. I think of like the first things
and be healthy enough yourself first.
Yes.
Like if you're obviously toxic yourself and you don't know how to say something gently, well, people are going to come unhinged because you're going to attack their character. You're going to name call. You're going to,
or just like I've seen people just like have no opinions about almost anything. because then they don't have to have conflict. They're like, it's fine, or I'm not sure what I believe, or whatever else like that. So then you just avoid. I was asking Nicole this morning. I said, because I was thinking about the answer that we gave last week about our marriage, saying we were best friends and stuff. And what if like only one person wants to get better?
And that's very common.
Yes. And so like,
or for the most part, right?
Yes, often. And so like, what if like the woman really wants to engage and have intimacy and stuff like that, but their husband's always working, like doesn't engage with the kids, doesn't lead spiritually, just has like, no drive for anything and doesn't want to have these conversations. Like that's really, really hard. So I asked Nicole, what would you tell another woman if they're in that case? And so she said, find a mentor who understands what you're going through, but here's the key, but won't condemn your husband.
Yeah, because that's not helpful.
No, but that happens a lot, right? Like they'll get in a group and everyone will still like give him, affirm that like, yeah, how your husband's a piece of shit, this and that, stuff like that. No, get someone who understands,
it's not helpful.
Someone you can share everything with, but won't condemn your husband, but you will pray. And like, I mean, there's those, and I know there's people that are just awful situations where their husbands have done just terrible really things. Yeah. And so but I know that God has created this world and he's extremely powerful.
And he's very gracious.
And he's very gracious, and he will heal and he will give you what you need where you're at right now.
And so I would say, and this brings me back to the Rat Neck podcast where Brian says, if we really understand the gospel, we would realize that we're no better than those people that do those awful things, right? Yes. And I think that a lot of time, myself and others, we don't think that. We literally actually think we're a bit better than, right? Yeah. And that leads to a skewed version of a vision of ourselves and probably of others in God, right? So.
I'll put that's what Gary was referring to, is like the conversation I had, if you've missed it, on the Furious
Phenomenal
show.
Podcast.
Yeah, I can't remember what episode number it is, but I'll put it on the screen.
It's one of my favorites. I did just listen to the other one too from Canadian Food Grains guy.
Oh, okay. What'd you think of that?
That was very interesting.
What was interesting?
It was interesting because I've hung out with him numerous times and never talked to him, right?
Oh, wow.
Because I've went to lots of events with him, right? Like
okay.
Young Canadian young farmers, outstanding young farmers, all these things where he's spoken. And I've been on the Canadian Food Grains Committee for like 5 years, fundraising in Abbotsford.
Oh, wow. You didn't know the director?
Well, I just didn't know him as well as I do after listening to his podcast with you, where he asked
you've
a lot of
talked to him
personal
though,
questions. Yeah, I said hi, that's it. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. It was amazing.
It was great conversation.
The guy that does his septic work, Shirtless Septic, texted me and said, hey, there's this guy that you should talk to. Jeff. Thanks, Jeff, for recommending him. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, sure, whatever. Texted him and he came over and I knew nothing. And I just said, let's just chat. And then like you hear that like his son died and like going through all that stuff and like, and just his own story. And
it's meant to be.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of good stuff there.
Wow.
It's really cool. Okay, let's wrap her up.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Have a great week, guys. Whatever week it may be for you. Not sure where we're at, but
if you have questions, you can send them in anonymously on my website or just on our social media, and we'll talk about it here on the podcast. Subscribe to it on YouTube. We will. Gary has to go pee so bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
So bad. And I got showings right now.